Gentlemen, let's talk about the coming juggernaut. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, gentlemen. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, back at you one more time. Yo, man, yo. You get the impression, at least I do, that when I look at the news or I listen to the rare time when I might catch a television broadcast, I see human beings scurrying. Now, I'm not saying that they're terrified or afraid. They can't be, not really. There's only a few of them out here on the very sharp end of the culture that understand what's going on. You see them all the time. We call them chameleons. We call them trad cons. And they're people that are somewhat self-aware. The chameleons and the trad cons, whether that's a man or a woman. Typically it's a woman. Somebody trying to snuggle up to you by agreeing with your statements and your sentiments and talking about how feminism is so awful and it's terrible. Oh, and you know, once we got the vote, it was all good. And these are people that are taking talking points and parroting the talking points. The coming juggernaut is not something like MGTOW. It's not. The coming juggernaut is the realization that the creation of things like MGTOW is going to take away everything that they've got. MGTOW has not reached critical mass. When you can look across the world and you can see birth rates plummet everywhere, not just in Western countries, but everywhere, then MGTOW or something like MGTOW will have reached critical mass. When you see women being ejected from your ruling and governing bodies, then MGTOW will have reached critical mass. That understanding only comes with a mass awakening, a mass awareness of what's going on. And we're getting there. It's not that long. It's not that far off. Gang, it's on the way. And we'll tell you that right now. I have never in my life, and I grew up in what I consider to be two of the best decades ever. The 70s and the 80s. And I have never seen women as miserable as they are today. At least back then they had places to go, people to bang, things to do. The fuckery was running rampant. It was all over the place. Sexual liberation, female empowerment. Now you have scumbags like that idiot Cardi B and that other stupid fuck that she runs around with on that new WAP single or album or whatever it is. I'm not going to bother to repeat the acronym because it just doesn't make any sense. But these people represent females because that's what females have chosen. You see, now, that's not the only thing that they chose. They chose to sit back while positive representation in their communities, be it black, white, or female, any and all, they chose to sit back while good influences like, say, Anita Baker, Natalie Cole, Queen Latifah, any of them, Toni Braxton. Now a couple of those broads have their problems, that's for sure. But they weren't sitting out there and devaluing them to the point that they might as well be something made in China and shipped to Walmart and picked off a shelf. Plain and simple. That's just exactly what it is. They have devalued the female and the female form to such an extent that not even females or feminism value them anymore. They have no inherent worth, no inherent value. They do nothing except sit around and consume and find ways to demonize others, other groups, other colors, whatever it is, for the problems that they have, the problems that their progenitors have incurred for them. You know, we always talk about boomer this and boomer that. I never say that. The greatest generation, boomers, if it weren't for them, you motherfuckers would have a real different world, a real different life. Is it going to be better? I don't know. It wouldn't be what it is now. Maybe it would be better. Who knows? People like to sit, talk, and run their mouths all day talking about, well, if it wasn't for them, you bitches would be in jack boots, giving the Zeke high, la, 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 la. And it's possible. They were real close. They were real close. That'd be a better living or a worse living? Don't know. And you wouldn't know either. You can only guess. The coming Juggernaut, gentlemen, is the one of momentum. You see, MGTOW, male sovereignty, whether these people out here, these millions of men out here know what MGTOW is or not, is damn near irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that women and government policy have made them absolutely worthless and hideous and absurd. You can't be around them. You can't be. I've told you this before, I talked to a woman on my stop, like every day almost, and she's a goddamn train wreck. You know, she presents herself as the end-all be-all, but if you sit there and you open your ears for just a little bit, and you do a little bit of data collection, you can understand just how fucked up this woman is, just how fucked up her family is, just how fucked up the people around her are. She's one of those. I'm gonna give you a story. Check this out. Now I'm gonna give you a couple of points on this. Last night, I happened to. Well, she's a liberal. She's a raging liberal. But because we're in an open space and there's cameras everywhere, I don't mind talking. They've got their office is mic'd up, so I don't mind talking. So I'll talk every once in a while. So I said, I can see in you a conflict, you know, just kind of goofing a little bit. She's like, what? What conflict? I said, I see you becoming a Trump voter this November. And it was like, you know, and she kind of chuckled a little bit. And I says, you can't seriously expect that you're going to have that skeleton of a man. This guy doesn't know what fucking decade he's in, and you're going to vote for him? She says, no, I'm going to vote myself in. And I'm going to write myself in, and I'm going to waste my vote, basically, is what she said. And there's a lot of people that do that. They waste their goddamn vote. They decide, fuck it, I can't get what I want, so I'm certainly not going to give anybody else anything. I'm not going to pull together with the country. Nah, I ain't going to do that. And I know that there are people that are watching this video right now that are like, man, you're so stupid, man. There's no such a thing, man. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Then she goes, you know, like, and I'm like, uh-oh, what? She goes, was it you that put the sticker on my car? And I'm like, no. What sticker? And she's like, are you sure? You know, she was trying to bait me into saying something stupid. And I said, no, I haven't put any sticker on your car. Why? You know, and she shows me a picture of it. Somebody put a Trump bumper sticker on her car. And I kind of chuckled a little bit. And then I said, you know, that's kind of fucked up. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. If you have a Biden, a Pocahontas, if you have a Harris, anything like that, it's not going to get your car vandalized, because guess what? Conservatives typically don't do that. I've not met one. I've not even heard of one. The last time we had that kind of a fucking craze or a panic was when supposed conservatives were bombing abortion clinics. It was decades ago. Decades ago. Funny shit. Sort of. And we had a little conversation about that, and I said, no, I absolutely have a panic when somebody messes with my car or messes with somebody else's property. I realized that it was a joke. She went all the way to the company heads in another state to get somebody found out. They issued a scathing public company-wide memorandum on putting political statements on other people's vehicles. This fucking ridiculous. It's a bumper sticker. It's a bumper sticker. Don't fuck with other people's property. Right? I agree. 100%. And they were talking about how when they find out who it is, that person's fired and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, all this over a fucking bumper sticker. So you know she's an absolute raging fucking liberal. Raging liberal. But I can still sit down and have a conversation with her. But she keeps her cards very close to her vest. And you could tell the entire time that I was talking to her. The entire time. If you pay attention. She's not rolling her eyes. She's not being dismissive. She is actually listening. And she's normal now. That's the norm now. Because they don't understand what's happening. They don't understand what's going on. That is the coming juggernaut. This is going to be in operation long after Donald Trump leaves office. This isn't about Donald Trump, folks. It's not. It's about suppression. It's about oppression. That's the coming juggernaut. We have a huge cultural shift underway. And it's going to take a decade to sweep these remnants out of public view, out of society. I know some folks are going to say, they're going to be like, why are you going to take that chance, man? Why are you going to sit around and talk to a liberal? You know what kind of people they are. Like I said, we're well covered. The office is mic'd up. I'm not alone with her. We're out in a public setting. There's cameras everywhere. So she could say anything that she wants. It won't go far. But that's the difference between their side of the culture and where most other people are not. That is the coming juggernaut. All you have to do is look at the bullshit this time around with these unironically named anti-fascists and burn, loot, murder. All you got to do is look at that, and these motherfuckers are getting their asses kicked. They're getting fucking run over. They're getting shot. People are not putting up with this shit anymore. The average person out here just wants to live. They want to make some fucking bread. They want to stack some green. They want to be okay. What's wrong with that? When you've got a megaphone and you're pumping propaganda into people's faces 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever, it's only going to have one of a couple effects. And right now we're seeing one of them. People ain't buying it. These people know in their heart of hearts that they're not what these other fuckers are calling them. And swearing on a stack of Bibles that they don't believe in anyways, that they are. We're seeing that cultural shift. How does that affect men? How does the coming juggernaut affect men? That's going to be the $64 question. How does this affect men? Well, it's going to affect you in certain ways. Some that you have not foreseen. The sexual apocalypse that we are just starting to undertake. Now, it hasn't gotten where everybody's talking about, and I'm guilty of this too. I talk about cratering marriage rates, cratering birth rates, these institutions that prop up marriage and boyfriends and all of that horse shit, how they're collapsing, right? You have not begun to see what a real collapse looks like. Right now, you're looking at the lips, the edge of the volcano starting to fall in. You haven't seen the whole side of the mountain slide off. But it's coming. It's coming. And it's typically going to come, in my opinion, it's going to come with the mass import of people to keep corporations going. You think you've seen mass imports in Europe? You ain't seen shit yet. Why do you think that the economy was as stagnant here now today? Well, before Trump got in office, why do you think it was as stagnant as it was? Do you think that that's because there were no jobs to be had? That's not true. There's plenty of jobs out there, but just enough jobs to keep you people in a consumer mindset. The goal was to turn the United States of America into a consumer nation to fund the rest of the world. Now, would there be other consumer hotspots? Sure, of course there would be. But none bigger than the United States. None. Shifting our production goals now away from China, taking control of these companies that have abandoned the American citizen, their own countries. Taking back those companies, those corporations, is not going to be the end-all be-all. It's not going to be the fix-it glue. It's not. Because they still have, those companies don't have borders. Wherever there is green or resources to be made, that's where these companies are going to go. They don't give a fuck about borders. And they'll work with anybody. It's been proven time and time again. They'll go film right outside of concentration camps and re-education camps. That's exactly what they're doing with the Uyghur Muslims. You see? I'm not on the same page with the Muslims, but guess what? You know, moral and ethical atrocities are still moral and ethical atrocities, plain and simple. So that's what's going on there, gents. That is your coming juggernaut, and there are multiple phases when watching this thing roll downhill. The first of those multiple phases is going to be election night this year. You better get ready to watch the shit hit the fucking fan. Oh, it's going to go down. It's going to go down. Your media is going to do everything in its power to stop this president from becoming a second termer. A lot of the Republicans are working against it. All the Democrats are working against it. Foreign powers are involved. When old boy got in there, he upset everything. He upset the apple cart. Plain and simple. But phase one of the coming juggernaut, election night, 2020. I'm going to be there. You going to be there? Going on long enough with this one, gentlemen. I'm going to take off. I hope you guys are having a really good Friday. Be awesome. Be cool to one another. And remember, you can say no and you can veto. It ain't that big a deal. It's just a word. Peace out. Gentlemen, let's talk about the coming juggernaut. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, gentlemen. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, at Walmart. Right? Where the world comes to party. The coming Juggernaut. Maybe we should call it the coming Colossus. That's what we've got. And that's what it's going to be. Folks sometimes simplistically overthink things. And then sometimes they gloss over shit that's right in front of them. And I know what you're saying. You're saying to yourself, Hammer, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? I said, bear with me. I'm setting it up. The things that are going wrong out here in society are not an accident. That has to be said first and foremost. It's not an accident. We have issues with society on almost every level. Let's explore multiculturalism. The disaster that has been multiculturalism. It is clear that when you ask whites what they want their own countries. The countries that they built. They want their own shit. They want their own people. It's clear that when you ask blacks what they want their own country. They want their own people. They want shit that they can build and be proud of. You ask anybody else, Asians, it's the same thing. People that want to work in a cooperative with one another are not going to understand nationalism. See, their color doesn't mean anything to them. Their heritage and their culture means nothing to them. Nothing. They are so unimpressed by the idea of nationalism that it becomes repulsive to them. Primarily because they can't stand the idea of somebody looking down on them over a choice, over a decision. Now, they wouldn't admit that outright, but if you had time to talk to them, if they had time to think instead of impulsively react, they would most likely come to that decision, or something similar. The Hart-Celler Act is what undermined national cohesion. Now, I believe that was 64 or 65. It took our immigration policy and it turned it on its ear. It reversed everything that was put forth by the Walter McCarran Act. So instead of pulling immigrants or citizens from Western Europe, some parts of Russia, we ended up with everyone coming from sub-Saharan Africa or south of the border, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, San Salvador, Panama. Is there a problem with this? Initially, no. Group preference is what dictates to these people. And it dictates to them in ways that most people, especially liberals, the stupid liberals, the lemming liberals, can't understand. In-group preference starts to take over. These people overwhelmingly vote left. They vote for leftism. That's why you have the problems that you have today. We went in 1960 from a 97, 98% majority to today where we're at, roughly 68%. That means that we, as citizenry, have lost 30%. 30%, 1/3 of our voting power, our purchasing power, our voice. Big, big, big fucking problem. And it's not a problem that if you stopped immigration today, it would take 50 years to undo that damage. And you wouldn't undo it all the way because the fabric of the country has been changed. It has been harmed terribly bad. You would immediately have to start importing Western Europeans. Immediately. People look at you like you're stupid when you start talking about race and consciousness and preference. Muhammad Ali said in an interview, now I hate to go quote, Muhammad, but he wasn't a dumb man. He was a little on the arrogant side, a little bombastic, but that's okay. Most of us are. Sometimes I am. But he said in an interview when this liberal cocksucker was talking to him about racism, it's been here forever. It's all that these fuckers can talk about. It's all they know. About racisms. Isn't it terrible about the racisms? He says, no. Roughly paraphrasing, he says, no, of course not. Bluebirds fly with bluebirds. Redbirds fly with redbirds. I love my people. And I don't blame white people for loving their people. And he's held up as a black icon. Today, Muhammad Ali would be a rightist. That's how far left your Democratic Party has shifted. They're not Democrats anymore. They're full-blown communists. And everybody knows it. Everyone. There's no hiding that. The coming juggernaut takes many forms. And we just talked about multiculturalism being a disaster. That's part of the problem. The emasculation of men. The emasculation of men. I look at men like I'm sitting here at this Walmart right now. There's one of them walking by me right now. He has this effeminate face. He's got some nice arms, right? Got some nice arms. Looks like he's just a little bit jacked. He's got tattoos on him, but he has a soy face. You know what I'm saying? Do you know why the term soy face has come into being? Because it's legit. Because you can tell men like me that don't have it. Now I can exaggerate and I can be like, right? I can do that. And then you give the impression. But when my face sits like so, I'm a man. These other people out here, when you see them, you can tell. You can tell. They're effeminate. Their testosterone levels are low. That's not an accident. It's not an accident. These motherfuckers do this on purpose. It's intentional. It's in your food. It's in your drinks. Shit like this, when you drink out of styrofoam cups, when you drink out of plastic bottles. My brother would tell me from time to time, he says, man, I don't get that water because I can taste the plastic. And I'd be like, that's bullshit. You can't do it. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I just always chalked up the difference in water, the difference in taste from bottle to bottle to bottle. Well, I just always thought, maybe that was in my head. Maybe it was the manufacturing process. But he was right. There are studies coming out now that are telling you about how babies are being born and they have plastic in their system. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. Just sitting here chilling. Back to the house. Back to the future. But yeah, there are studies out now that are saying that they're finding plastic enzymes in newborns. Is it engineered? Or is it such gross incompetence and negligence? I don't know. I suspect it's a little bit of both. I feel like the human element on this planet is being pushed towards something that nobody's very clear on. That's what I feel. The coming juggernaut, gentlemen, the coming juggernaut takes many forms. Economically, we're in a lot of trouble. It's not going to be long before this system that they have, it could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 50 years. But like I said, the mass awareness that is going on now because of these things right here. People can't get away from these. It's in their everyday life. There are billions of cell phones now with cameras, with access to the human experience, the database of humanity, right? And it's not just here in the States or Canada or Australia. It's in Saudi Arabia. It's in Iran. It's in Iraq. It's everywhere. It's on tropical fucking islands that nobody's ever heard of. Those folks, I think, are a little more shielded and perhaps a little more able to weather those changes. They're not inside this giant fluctuating organism of fuckery. But I think the biggest problem, in my opinion right now, is the engineered insanity that is going on with humanity. Now, I said a while ago, the futility of the utility. That's you. It's you. But it's not just you. It's women too. As much as I advocate for the rights of men, as much as I despise and revile and hate usury, I can't look at women and say that it hasn't happened to them too. It has. Now, that's not me extending the olive branch. I'm fighting for me. I'm fighting for us. All the voices in the manosphere, even the suckers, are still trying to push away from some of this shit. Not all the suckers. There's some suckers out there that are leading you right back to the goddamn plantation. They're trying to get you to embrace the old ways of things. Sometimes the old ways are good ways. Sometimes they're not. They'll tell you in the media, in the lamestream, they'll tell you, well, it's just these women out here. They're waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting. They're just waiting. They're waiting. They can choose. They got choice. Oh, we're still so far from equality. This type of parity can never be achieved. This type of parity cannot be achieved. It can't be. When you have to oppress someone, anyone, to achieve what you consider to be equality, you have become the oppressor. Some folks look at you real strange and they're like, you telling me that females can oppress men? I'm not just telling you that, I'm showing you that they're doing it. And they're doing it through law. They're doing it through legislation. You see? That's how they went at you. They focused on three things: law, the youth, and education. They completely dominated and infiltrated all of them. And they have been doing this for decades. Decades. They've been terraforming you. I was watching an interview with Ronald Reagan last night about his interactions with John Wayne. It's a fascinating interview. He says in that interview, while he's talking about Duke Wayne, he calls him Duke Wayne, because he was the Duke. He was the Duke. When he was the head of the Screen Actors Guild, this is Ronald Reagan, when he was the head of the Screen Actors Guild, the SAG, you've heard of the SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Awards shows are pretty much a thing of the past. But he was having a lot of problems. He said, there's a lot of things, this is Reagan speaking, he says, there's a lot of things that people don't know about Hollywood back then, that they were heavily infiltrated by communists. Now, he says this outright, in verbatim. And he says he was getting a lot of shit. He was getting a lot of resistance for promoting America, for promoting the country. And that should tell you all you need to know about where we are today. Well, Duke Wayne, John Wayne, called Nancy Reagan. They had never met before. And he introduced himself. And of course, back in the middle 60s, early 60s, everybody knew who John Wayne was. He was the most popular movie star in the world. And to a man, no one could find fault with the guy. He spoke his fucking mind. He said what he had to say. Of course, nowadays, he's being painted as a fucking racist and a bigot, which is what they do to everything that's American. And when I say they, I mean the small hat gang, the communists, the Bolsheviks, the Marxists, all the people that want every fucking thing that Europeans built. They just don't want to share it with Europeans anymore. But he called Nancy Reagan, and he says to Nancy Reagan, he says, "Hello, this is John Wayne. I figured maybe you would want to hear a friendly voice." And I think if I can find that interview, I'll put it in the box. But Hollywood has had problems with communism since Hollywood was Hollywood. Now he found out, Reagan did, that these orders to infiltrate Hollywood were coming directly from the Kremlin. This is still a problem today. I'm not saying that Russia is our friends. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that their people are probably, by and large, decent folks. They're different from us, of course. But the USSR, the Soviet Union, only fell in name only. In name only. All of the old ways are still there. Still there. And they're here now. Bolshevism, my friends, is another one of those fangs in the mouth of the serpent. Communism, Marxism, feminism, gynocentrism. They're all teeth in the same mouth, all of them. Say that gynocentrism runs the world. Well, on the face of things, gynocentrism is what we're fighting. You get deeper than that, it's just basically usury. That's all it is. It's layer on top of layer on top of layer on top of layer of fucking usury and fuckery. That's why it's so difficult for people to try to parse out what's happening to them, what's happened to their world. Cheers. Drinking out of my styrofoam cup with my plastic straw. Enzymes. But folks, this is what it is. This is what it is. The coming Juggernaut is going to approach in 100 different ways. The strangeness of the ideas that these people have, I can't put those words out there because I barely know them. But the convergence of all of these misdeeds and these mishandlings are all coming together. And it's serendipity that it's all coming at the same fucking time. All of it. All of it. That all of these governments and all of these peoples would be so actively engaged in politics and the political scene right now is not an accident. It had to happen. People understand here, in China, in Russia, in India, everywhere that they are, everywhere that these people are, these folks understand that they have abdicated their responsibilities to their people. And they've been doing it for decades. We got problems. But people can solve their problems. Governments just want to kill people. Plain and simple. Well, we don't like what you're doing, so fuck you. We're going to march over here, and we're just going to execute a whole bunch of folks. Oh, shit. Excuse me. I try to hold on to it because I don't want to blow crap all over my phone and the steering wheel. Holy shit. Me lungs. But that's what it is, gang. That's what it is. Those are just the surface issues. You take into account how men are being stripped of their masculinity. The APA, the CDC, all institutes of medicine and psychology are now declaring masculinity mental illness. That should tell you where you're at right there. That should tell you where you're at, that your very nature now is a threat. Something to be controlled or stomped out. I had hoped that in my lifetime I would not live to see a full-blown civil conflict here in this country. But I've warmed up to the idea. If it happens, it happens. I don't have nothing to say about it. I'll do the very best that I can. I'll live as long as I can live. And when it comes time to check out and cash out, I'll go out on my feet. That's just what it is. That's the way that these motherfuckers are pushing. That's what they're pushing for. They're not going to stop pushing until somebody kills them. And for you idiots out there that want to conflate what I just said with MGTOW and violence, please eat a big bag of salty dicks. The reality of the situation is that you've got two sides that are pushing against one another. You have outside influences and forces. You have internal influences and forces. And they're all pushing for what they want. Something has to give, and it's gonna. When you see women at ball games being mauled and manhandled because of not wearing a fucking face mask, when you see women in Australia, in New Zealand, that are being choked out and having grown men sit on them because of not wearing a face mask, when you have people being pulled over in fucking cars because they were mobbed by Antifa pursuit vehicles, their shit was destroyed. These people are being walked out of their car at gunpoint, and they were the victims. Got a video coming on that one. You see all of this stuff, you can't hide it anymore. You can't obfuscate it. You can't conflate it with anything else. It's plain as day what it is. These fuckers out here are flexing, and they're letting you know who the boss is. The coming Juggernaut is going to take care of that. Welcome to part 3 of the coming Juggernaut. Good afternoon. Good morning, good evening. Out of order, but I'll take it. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk. Back at you, one more again. Single mothers' kids are out there fucking around. I don't like people being around behind me or off my quarters where I can't see them. That's a pretty good segue, though. Another issue on the coming of the Juggernaut, the coming of the new Colossus, so to speak, is what's going to happen with people and how people are killing themselves. These fucking kids come out here like with no goddamn clothes on. I don't get it. I don't know how the fuck a mother could, well, fuck that. Let me take that back. I know exactly how a mother would do it and why she would do it. Cheers. Part of that coming juggernaut, as I've said before, there's hundreds of different veins that are all converging into one space. And that is the transformation of society and civilization as we know it. It is not going to be fun. It's not going to be pleasant. What do you see by and large out there with women? And when you, if you have the guts, if you have the intestinal fortitude to watch these female shows like The View or The Real or Think Tank or any of these idiotic, mind-numbing, brain cell-killing shows, when you watch these shows, what are these people talking about? What are they talking about? They're talking about all the ills of society in what I say is a directional slant. It's all of it, on you. It all goes right back into your face. It's put in your lap. It's dropped at your feet. You just didn't man up, motherfucker. You just didn't do what you were told to do. Don't you know that we're women? Don't you know that? We're special. We're princesses. We were told so. And I have to be honest with you. I don't freak out on any guy that treats his little girl very well or that treats his little son very well. I don't. But when you install a false reality in them, when you give them the idea and the impression that they are better than other people or that they have to fulfill certain needs in other people instead of taking care of themselves, you're doing a disservice to everyone after them. Everyone that comes in contact with them that was raised somewhat correctly is going to give them the side eye. It's going to be like, say, huh? That's what they're going to do. And you're really fucking your kids up when you do these things. Everything my child says is amazing. No, it's not. It's everything that a child says. It's everything that the adults that came before these children have said. And there was somebody there that has lived it, that has participated in it, whatever it is, that will correct them. Here's the problem. That's part of the issue, part of the problem, is that these future generations, the ones that we're looking at right now that are out spasming and rioting everywhere, they're not told these things. They were not afforded the ability to suffer a correction. And believe me when I tell you, when somebody that you look up to or respects you rebukes you, it changes how you view them. And you got to have some courage as the rebukee to look inside yourself and say, am I wrong? Are they wrong? Why would they not agree with that? Because I thought it was correct. Whatever that was, whatever that thought is, whatever that thought was, they think that they're right. I've encountered this a few times in my life. And when somebody that I looked up to, had some respect for, said, put the slap on me and said, no, that's not correct, man. You got to look. I didn't always find the answer. But what I did find was the ability to look at it objectively. I might not have found the answer some of the times, but I found reason for justification for other points of view. And that's not what we have with females today, with women. Even with the very mild females, even with the ones that appear to be on your side, even with the ones that are out there running their flappers, talking about how much men have to change and men need to be men and blardy blar blar blar. And they're saying all the right things. But what are they doing? This is a big reason why the MRAs came and went. It's a huge reason why the MRAs came and went. They did themselves a tremendous disservice with all of the acumen, with all of the mental prowess, with all of the power that these men had amongst themselves. They opened the door to female opinion. And you saw what happened. We've seen it over the last few years. The MRAs have completely fallen on their faces. They still host podcasts. They still have little talk show moments. But their momentum has ceased. It's over. It's gone. It's not there anymore. And that's fuckery. It's fuckery by your own hand. Cheers. It's fuckery by your own hand. To get this network set up, to get all of this shit going, and then to turn around and hand it over to females so that females can pull other men into it and validate the opinions of females. It doesn't make a difference what they're saying. What are they doing? What are they doing? They're looking at your world, your problems, from their lens. They can't possibly relate to it. Just like you can't relate to theirs. I am one of the only motherfuckers in this community that has consistently said women are just as big of victims as feminism as men. Society at large is fucked. They're in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. I've tried to tell all of you out there, this is not one-dimensional. It's not one-sided. We had as close to a symbiotic system as we were ever going to have, a perfect system. And that is where part of your society, as long as you keep society in the current mold, in the current shape, that's why communists and Marxists and Bolsheviks are so hell-bent on destroying the idea of the family. So if that doesn't exist anymore, then it's all hands on deck for whatever shows up after it. But if you're intent on making that the way to go forward, which I think is a good way to go forward, you can keep your numbers up, you can keep yourselves relevant. I won't say that there's going to be a man and a woman for every man and a woman out there. I won't say that. It's unrealistic. But is it going to be what it is today? Fuck no. Couple that with these motherfuckers right here. Couple that with social media, with phones, with cameras and everything, with the ability to have a fucking television studio in the palm of your hand. And what have you got? What do you have? You have completely ballistic hypergamy. Nuclear hypergamy. You thought it was out of control in 2015? It's not better. It's not better. It didn't go anywhere. That 80-20 rule that everybody was talking about back in 14 and 15 and 16, that is fucking gone. I saw one of our red pill brothers, a young man, put out a video about the 90-10 rule. It's not even 90-10 now. All women are looking at the top 2% of all men. They don't give a fuck about nothing. They're not even hiding it anymore. And it's not sluts or whores or nasty fucking bitches. It's not fucking hoes that just came out of jail. It's not some bitch that just dropped a kid and wants to go to the club tomorrow. It's normal as they've been raised. Normal, everyday people now. They can't see anything outside of that window box that they have created for themselves, that their ideology has created for them, helped them create. They have molded their own prison box, so to speak. It's fascinating to sit back and watch it. As somebody that doesn't need this type of validation, as somebody that I don't want it, somebody that doesn't even want it, right? To sit back and look like these girls that just walked out here right now with their mother. She parades them up and down all the fucking time. When she disappears, she's not out of this driveway 5 fucking minutes. And there's these fucking doofy boys that are walking up here and falling into the fucking place, and they leave, a couple of hours before she gets back from whatever it is that she's doing, and she makes it very clear, I will be back at X time. Like it's code speak, but not really. The coming Juggernaut, gentlemen, in large part is due to men failing. Now, I'm not going to throw that bullshit on you and throw it at your feet and tell you that it's your responsibility, that you're the reason for this. I'm not going to tell you that, because that's not true. I'm not going to say that it's your fathers or your grandfathers. I'm going to say that most of everyone out here was okey-doked. They got the fucking head fake. They broke their ankles. That's really what most of it is. There's a lot of peeps out here that want to blame boomers and say that boomers are this, that, and the other. It was only a small fraction of boomers that controlled the government when that was the government. It's a small fraction of people that control the government today, that control the movements of humanity as a whole. It's not everybody. It's not the men and the women that are out here living the lives and fucking paying the price and getting fucking chiseled down to nothing. It's not them. They're just going with the fucking flow like everybody else. Look at all of these goddamn muzzle wearers out here now. What are they doing? Everybody knows that COVID is being blown completely out of proportion. Everybody knows that the fucking economy can open right now, have no problems with it whatsoever. Everybody also knows in the back of their head that this is 100% political theater. 100%. As I say, every time I address the subject of COVID, beer flu, kung flu, the Wuhan surprise, every time I address this, I have to say, yes, COVID-19 is real. It's legit. Everybody knew that. Not a thing, not a problem. I'm not saying that the virus doesn't exist. I'm saying that the reaction to the virus is planned. 100%. If you take the time to go back, I'm not going to give you any links or list any of this, but if you take the time to go back from 2015 up until March of 2019, every leading liberal talking head was talking about, well, the only way to get Trump out of here is to, crash the economy. But yeah, they were rooting it on. They were rooting for it. They wanted that. They wanted to see that. They wanted to see the economy fucking fail and fail hard. Because they thought that that was going to get regular Joe and Jane Doe out there to push motherfucker out of the office. No, because you can't hide this from people. That's why they want to restrict your social media now. That's why they want to strike your videos and kill your channels off, because they think that that's going to work too. Like word of that happening doesn't spread like fucking wildfire. That's what these folks do, gang. That's what they do. They attempt to maintain control in chaos. They generate chaos and attempt to control it. Plain and simple. And you're in it, whether you like it or not. But as far as females, the succubi is concerned, they made their bed. And even the most passive of these women go along with the idea of voting or not voting. They don't take their responsibility serious at all unless there's fucking Gibbs and a treasure chest sitting in that voting box waiting for them, like all of these scumbags on a certain side of the aisle promise. All of these panderers out here. These people that insult the fucking intelligence, they appeal to the lowest common denominator in all people. Not just women. But unfortunately for ladies, they fall for it a lot faster than any man. Unless, of course, that man's a feminist male. Leaves a bad taste in my mouth just to say it. Oh, what a disgusting, pathetic life. I am a feminist, and you should be too. No, I don't think so. I'll pass. You can have my helping. So, gents, when you're out there and you're railing on shit or you're leaving comments and saying, fuck these motherfuckers, which you're entitled to do, of course, and I highly suggest you should, give your opinions. Don't hold back. If you have the ability to cite your sources, cite your sources. These people will start waking up. They'll start thinking. But that is the coming juggernaut. Female failure. Female failure is one of those bones in the rib cage, right? There's a lot of them. Not in the rib cage, a lot of bones. Female failure. Female fuckery. The entitlement epidemic. And goddamn, it's an epidemic. Whew, is it ever? But before the sun goes completely down and you're watching a MGTOW ghost talk to you, I think I'm going to jet. I didn't hit all my points in this one. I didn't finish everything. Maybe we'll get back to it, because I think that there might be a part 4 on this as well. Peace out, my friends. Welcome to part 4 of the coming juggernaut. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, gentlemen. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, back at you one more time. Yo, man, yo. Give you that side eye. You can see it, can't you? Well, not through these, but yeah. Part 4. Realization. You are seeing, slowly but surely, the realization on the part of the females and the weaker, lesser males. Now, I mean no disrespect when I say that about our male brethren, about our counterparts. You are seeing the realization by these people that men with ways and means, men that are skilled, men that have trades under their belts, are opting to leave societal support. They just ain't doing it no more. I see this creeping realization. I see this in people when they're talking. Just heard a conversation the other day, standing in line. My ears perked up a little bit, because you know how it is when you get to that point in that conversation and they start hitting on them red pill terminologies, that MGTOW terminology. Somebody actually said MGTOW in the line, a grocery line. I'm sitting there, I'm like, eh? I'm like, yeah, man, I've been reading a lot about this. There was a female standing there. Well, what the hell is it? What is MGTOW? I was like, MGTOW. You're an American. Give me a fucking break. It's MGTOW. What is this MGTOW? Well, it's a bunch of guys and they're gone. They're leaving. They do this thing. It's called ghosting, and I don't really know what it means, but there's millions of them. And I was trying not to laugh, and I didn't want to correct the guy, so I just let him go. I don't like jumping into people's conversations, you know, and I especially don't want to tip my hand in that regard. I don't want to do that. So to me, it was humorous, it was funny, but it was also sad. There was a little bit of sadness there because it's getting out there, and the way that these people, especially your fake media, try to prop up things like who white supremes, and they try to make everything about this, and they try to make everything about race, and they try to make everything about the evil ass white people pushing motherfuckers down, like that faggot piece of shit John Roberts that was doing that shit to what's her name, Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press briefing girl, followed in the fine footsteps of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Oh yes. Before her, Sean Spicer. Sean Spicer did all right. I think he just got tired of that shit fast, and he got moved out. And it's easier for the press to attack a man in that position than it is to attack a woman, although we've seen that they have no issues whatsoever attacking females too. None. Zero. But I thought that it was funny. It was humorous to me. The coming Juggernaut, the coming Colossus. One of those phases of the coming Juggernaut is realization. I see it in people's faces. When the idea, the concept of relationships and marriage and family come up, these people look like a deer in headlights. They really do. They think that they're supposed to talk about it. They know they're supposed to say something, but they don't know what to say. Because the concept, all of those concepts are broken. They're broken beyond repair. You can't repair these institutions, and you have to call it that. Well, getting together with somebody and having kids is not an institution. Yeah, but it's been made that way. You see, it's been made into that. Anything, any action, anything that you can do out here has been thought of in a way to monetize it or restrict it. That's just how the system works. You see, if they can't properly restrict it, they make it illegal. Like marijuana, right? You're growing a fucking plant and smoking a plant. Who cares? Now, I think that the smell, to me, is fucking repugnant. It's repulsive. I hate it. I can't stand it. Right? And the fact that it fucks with your head a little bit, I don't like that either. But let's be real. It's a plant. You know what I'm saying? A lot of medical benefits to it as well. But that's becoming less and less and less a restriction, and more a push for it. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next few years you see every state legalize it to some degree. You know, that way they can get a piece of it. Well, they do the same thing with your sexuality. When I say they, I mean the government. I mean liberals. I mean the people who have openly and blatantly revealed themselves to be who and what they are. The people that want to control every goddamn thing about life. It's funny how the mask has slipped. It's funny how the snake has slipped its skin, and people are still having a hard time identifying this. It's fucking amazing. That just shows how stupid the basic population is. How dumb they have become. I mean they. All of them. All of them. The realization that women in particular are having out here is that the fucking honeypot is running dry. It's running dry. And it's not because the government's going to run out of funds. It's not because the government is going to not do these stupid, incompetent programs. It's not because the government is going to disincentivize marriage and incentivize divorce and wealth transfer from men to women. They're going to do all of that until the fucking second that the goddamn thing just will not work anymore. That's what they're going to do. It's running dry because men are walking away from the system entirely. Some folks would say, well, as social engineers, we anticipated this. We knew it was going to happen. I don't buy that. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that the people that make these things happen, the people that force these things down the throats of Joe and Jane Doe, I think that these people did not believe for a fucking moment that men were going to be able to get their biologies together and walk away. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they ever saw that coming. That's an unintended consequence of fucking around with human beings and being such an arrogant, cocksucking, prick fucking organization at the same time. I don't think that these people understood that men were just going to jet. Men were just going to say, fuck it. It's not worth it anymore. Not going to do it no more. And you're not talking about men my age. You're talking about men that are 20. Men that are 18. Younger men, 17, 16, 15. They're making the decisions themselves to not be involved with this. Do you know how many cases I read about over the last 5 years where little preteen girls get together and Me Too some fucking kid because they just didn't like him? Dozens. Dozens. That I know of, that we know of. You don't know how many kids have gotten their asses kicked or their teeth pushed in because some fucking girl pointed the finger at him and said, he's the one. Hell, that was happening to... I had an instance like that happen when I was younger, when I was a kid. This girl accused some guy that we knew that we were hanging out with, and we went after him, man. We wanted fucking blood. Come to find out a couple of days later, she was just embarrassed that she let it go that far. She false accused him. I'm glad that we didn't catch him. He was a fast runner. I'm glad that we didn't catch him. But I hope that red pilled the shit out of him, because it sure as fuck started my journey. I never in my wildest dreams, thought that somebody would just make something like that up where another person could get really fucked up over it. But I've seen too many instances of it. Tens of thousands. Those are just the ones that are reported, that are documented. Gang, let me tell you something. The realization that these people are having right now is something that they can't acknowledge. Cheers. The realization of what's going on is something that these people cannot acknowledge. They cannot and will not do it until they're being pushed out on the street and there are no welfare or social programs to cover their asses. If I was on the street tomorrow, I'd survive because I know how to survive, because I've been there, because it happened to me several times coming up as a kid. I've been there. I know how to survive. I know how to make it. I know how to get employment. You see, when I've got nothing, I know how to get employment. I know how to go where to get what so that I can feed me, take care of business. These other people don't know this. They rely on the ingrained, socialized kindness of men, of boys even. You think a full-grown woman wouldn't actually use a boy or make a boy feel guilty and give up his daily bread to save her? You're goddamn right they would. They would do it in a second, in a hot second. I've witnessed that as well. Yes. One of the phases of the coming juggernaut is the realization that you're on the outside looking in. You're no longer part of the club. And you didn't know when the transition took place. You didn't know when you got handed your walking papers, when you got ousted. You know, when I go to the grocery store, I see very distinct, separate emotions in people. with women in particular. Now, there are the odd outliers that don't fall into this, and I am of the opinion that it's because they're completely oblivious or because they've got their head so far up their asses that they don't understand what's going on. But most of the females that I see in the grocery store over the last 6 or 7 months, I sit back and I watch them, I observe them. You know, of course, they're picking out their lettuce or their little fruits, or they're going and they're grabbing their selection of meat. Nobody's shopping nearly as heavily as they were prior to the Wuhan surprise. Nobody. I don't see people walking out of these stores with baskets full of groceries. I'm not saying it don't happen. I just haven't seen it. They have a tendency to have a long face. Like they're deep in thought. They're not thinking about a grocery list. They're thinking about when that last meal is coming and what they can do. They're metering out that money that they've got, that they're lucky to have, right? Their purchasing power, so to speak. With men, when I'm in there, I'm talking, I'm chatting, I'm directing my son to go to this aisle or that aisle. Go over there and get that, boy. Go get that one over there, sir. Oh yeah, bring me back 3 of those. And I know how to smart. I'm frugal. I know how to shop. I know how to spend money. I don't waste my money and I don't waste my time. And I got a smile on my face. And I have seen more than once, more than twice, more than 10 times, somebody giving me the side eye. I'll catch them looking at me out of the corner of my eyes. I got really good peripheral vision. And they'd just be like, they don't want to hear none of that. And more often than not, men are just jumping around having a good time. They're doing their thing. Do you know why? Because most men aren't worried about this. Women, they may not even understand what that realization is. They may not even understand that they're having those thoughts and feelings, but they're having them. They're there. Excuse me. Kill him! Oh, he coughed! Look, Trump's got COVID! Oh, you're dying, bitch! Not today. So I think that's very funny, very humorous to me, to sit back and observe how people, by and large, especially the sexes, are acting or not acting. I don't think that they're acting. I think it's 100% legit for the most part. So yeah, gents, the coming Juggernaut, one of the phases is realization. The realization that eventually this is going to stop. Disney just laid off almost 30,000 people. They are in dire financial straits. Disney cruise ships were going to be dry docked, but the governor, to the best of my understanding, did not allow them to dry dock their vessels, to keep their vessels moving and going. The cruise lines, Disney Cruise, right? Now, 30,000, you say, it's a drop in the bucket when you're talking about what's going on. There's 80 million in the workforce, or some number equivalent to that. Don't hold me to that number, but it's something like that. 30,000, that's nothing, blah, blah, blah. It's 30,000 people now, which you can pretty much bet the vast majority of them are not single. 50% of them probably have kids. I'd say probably 50%. So now you're talking about 50,000 sets or 30,000 sets of people, which in effect, it affects about 60 to 70,000 people when those drop their jobs, or their jobs disappear, or they evaporate. Oh yeah. Interesting goings on. I told you that my job is slowing down. They slashed one run off of everything that we do this whole week. And we should be speeding up going into the Christmas season. And they slashed production. Just got word. I'm not supposed to know this, but people like me. So they talk to me. I'm like, no. Just got word that the third week of October actually the last week of October, my primary recipients of these loads that I deliver are going to be closed. Coincidentally, headed right into the week of the election. I don't think that there's much coincidence about that. I think that they know what's coming. And I would ask you to keep your head on a swivel, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. So when these big manufacturers who have never, ever shut their plants down the week going into the election, they know what's coming. Just like I know what's coming. Oh, baby. Oh, man. Oh, man. So keep it together, gents. And remember, gang, remember, every day, every moment above dirt is a good moment. Get your butts out there. Go enjoy your sun. If it's raining outside and you won't freeze to death, go jump out in the rain, man. Do something that makes you feel good. Forget about your circumstances for a few minutes and try to stack minutes into hours and stack those hours into days. All you have to do, man, all you have to do is keep breathing. Keep breathing. Something's going to change for you if you want it to. Now, I realize that some of us are not in a position to effect any kind of change in our lives, and we are stuck like Chuck. And I understand that. I do understand that. I have been one of those people. But I still have upward mobility. I still have the ability to get things done so far. So in that sense, it's not lost on me that I'm lucky. It's not lost at all. You gents have a good one. I'll talk to you in a bit. Welcome to part 5 of the coming Juggernaut, Reckoning. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, gentlemen. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, back at you. One more again. Yo, man. Yo. So, the reckoning. What does the reckoning look like? What does it mean? What is it going to hold for people? Well, you have to realize, well, you don't have to, but you should. You should realize that in every revolution type scenario, every evolution type scenario, which is what we're looking at, and every de-evolution type scenario, there are only a few people on the vanguard of those movements of people and ideologies. The reckoning that is coming is the understanding that gynocentrism, rampant gynocentrism, and by proxy feminism, has pushed, wow, a rollover accident there. It's been taken care of, but there's a lot of accidents here lately. That rampant gynocentrism and rampant feminism has pushed our societies into a chasm. And then they dumped gasoline on it and set the population on fire. And I don't think that really bothers a lot of these people. They're still not looking and seeing clearly. They see identifiers. They see whataboutisms. They see all kinds of shit. But they don't understand what's happening at the pointy end of the cultural vanguard. Get past this no muffler having motherfucker right here, and maybe we can finish this. The pointy end of the cultural vanguard is the resistance to gynocentrism. The resistance, not passive, very active resistance to feminism. And I know that folks are going to say, man, don't you think that there's a lot more important things going on in the world right now? Don't you think that this is one of those things that can kind of just be put on the back burner and you can kind of tend to it later? No. I think that folks that assume that sexual politics and gender dynamics are not important are people that do not understand. They don't have their finger on the pulse. Sexual politics and gender dynamics, the dynamic between a man and a woman, are the only politics that matter. Everything else is manipulation, coercion, or tyranny. Men and women make future men and women. Now, it's debatable about the passing on of the legacy or the line. I think that that's ego and pride that speak when folks utter those words. And I think that for men out there that talk to themselves and talk to others about, I've gone red pill, I've gone MGTOW or monk, and I miss not having a family, and I miss the idea of not passing on my legacy. Or you will hear somebody say, only the fittest DNA goes forward. You're a genetic dead end. Good on you. And they attempt to shame you and emasculate you while you are attempting to free yourself. What else would you expect them to do? You see, they have a real, proper, true understanding of what's going on, and that is that they are being starved out. Plain and simple. They're being starved out. Excuse me, gents, while I navigate through some of this gnarly traffic over here. People are driving a little bit dumber than usual today in good old Louisville, Kentucky. Get this squared away real quick and get in line, and then I'll continue. Or I might just cut this piece out. Hell, I don't know. Right now I'm just talking to a camera, not an audience. There we go. The realization, the reckoning of what is happening now is not going to be had for a few years by mainstream normies. And that's entirely due to the fact that your media will refuse any knowledge of it. They will not talk about it. They will not discuss it unless it comes in the form of shaming, and that shaming is directed at men. Why aren't you getting married? Oh man, birth rates are falling through the floor. Oh man, we can't sell Pampers. Oh man, the De Beers company is closing thousands of stores, losing billions of dollars because they can't sell a shiny piece of carbon that was compressed over thousands, perhaps millions of years. It's bizarre how people think about things, but it's not bizarre if you add context to it. And the context is that you've been brainwashed and that there was a whole lot of people out there helping to secure that false reality for you. Most people live in a false reality, and that's where the reckoning is going to come. The reckoning will happen en masse at some point in time, but individually the reckoning is happening every second of every day, everywhere. Somebody wakes up. Mostly it's men. It's mostly people that are being oppressed, as you can tell. The narrative outside is, well, women are oppressed, minorities are oppressed. All of these other people except whites are oppressed. And people go with it because everybody needs a boogeyman. Because if you have a boogeyman, it makes it very easy for you not to stand on your own 2 feet and accept responsibility for your failings in life. And let's be real, failings are a very subjective thing. Very subjective. Very subjective. For me to say that anybody has failed at life, hell, I don't say that anymore. I used to. I'd look at somebody standing on the street corner and be like, oh, what a fucking loser. You know, today I still have my feelings on that. It makes me feel a certain way. But I understand it because I understand how crushing it is to try to get out from alcohol addiction or drug addiction. I understand how crushing it is to open your eyes to the cultural zeitgeist. I understand those things. And I'm lucky in a sense because my brother and I, there was a time where I never thought I'd say this, we were beaten and brutalized so badly when we were kids that it put us in a position of understanding that very early on. Now, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and I wouldn't suggest that it's a good way to go. You can learn the same lessons by being talked to in a rational, calm, discreet, calculated, intelligent manner. Did I put enough in there for you? Folks, the reckoning that's coming is going to be the hollowing out and the bottoming out of the welfare state. When the welfare state collapses, make no mistake about it now, it has already collapsed, but they're still feeding the beast. They are still feeding it because they know that the monster that they have created with the welfare state, if they don't satiate it, they're in a lot of trouble. These riots, these riots that you see out here, this is calculated and organized. These riots that you see out here will be nothing compared to the millions of people that are out here spasming about not getting their welfare check when that day comes. You better be well armed, and you better understand that is going to be the downfall of Western society. Now, yes, we have big fucking problems with feminism, with the gynocentric nature of Western society. Big problems. But there's nothing that's going to bring about the end of Western civilization faster than the collapse of the welfare state. And I think that these people do recognize that the collapse of the welfare state has already happened. That's why they're borrowing money from other countries to fund this. It's inconceivable to me that we are borrowing money from other countries to fund this. It's unreal. It's unreal. Unbelievable. Get stocked up on your food. Get at least a year's worth of dry food reserves. At least a year. That can be accomplished for $400 or $500. If you have the ability and are in good legal standing, get firearms and make sure that you get at least 100 rounds of ammo. You need at least 100 rounds. At least. Take care of yourselves out there. You're going to need it. I'm not trying to be a doomsayer or a doomcaster. I'm not doing that at all. I would love to live out the rest of my life in relative peace and do the things that I want to do. And I'm going to do as much as I can do, all the way up until the point where I can't. And then I shift into another mode, and that's self-preservation. The reckoning that is coming for these people, the reckoning that is coming is also going to be based in other people's desire to preserve their life. All that generosity, all that fake-ass money and donations that are going to everybody out there, that shit's going to dry up faster than you can snap your fingers. It'll be gone overnight. Cheers. That's going to be gone very, very quickly. I'd like to turn the blinker off, but I can't. Sorry about the noise. The reckoning that's coming to folks out here is something that I mentioned in the last video or a couple of videos before that, I can't recall, is going to be the exposure of the House of Cards. That will be the next video. The House of Cards. Gentlemen, have yourselves a wonderful day. Please keep your head on a swivel. Remind yourselves daily that life is good. Every moment above dirt is a good moment. Don't disappoint yourselves. Get outside. Inhale some fresh air. You see the trouble, the shit that our brothers go through. SCE, Vention. They're just two examples of many. They're out there getting their fucking guts cut out, getting their rib cages torn open. And they're up, they're walking, they're tough fucking bastards, and they're doing the thing. That's the definition of MGTOW. They are living, breathing examples of that. And they aspire to be more. And it inspires me. Whenever I think that I've got it rough or tough, or I get down a little bit, I look at a goddamn wound that goes from my neck to my belly button, and I realize that it's not so bad. On myself, I look at the 8 wounds in the open muscular cavity that I still have from a botched operation, and it could be worse, right? It could be. Get your butts out there, do the right thing, enjoy your life, stay MGTOW. Fellow denizens of the deep, let's discuss the coming Juggernaut and reconstruction. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's one of them somewhere, wherever you're at. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, back at you. One more time. The coming Juggernaut is going to see a phase called reconstruction. It's going to see men rise from the ashes of what's left. We're already seeing it. It's easy. If you look around, you can see what's going on. You can see what these people are doing to one another. It's not hard. Not difficult at all. I see men today speaking openly about things that they would not have dared to speak about just a few years ago. The wool was so thoroughly pulled over people's eyes that they couldn't see what was out here. They couldn't see what was going on. I've never seen so many men talking openly about the things that bother them as I have here this last year. And whether I agree with that or disagree with that on any level is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is these men are openly displaying discontent, contempt for a system of governance that harms them, that harms their kids. These people in these positions, these governments, state, local, federal, they make no bones about harming you. And I see that men have decided to make no bones about giving them the high hard one and telling them how they're not just going to go along with this anymore. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Reconstruction is not going to happen the way that people think it's going to happen. You know, you typically have folks that are going to run out there and they're going to say all kinds of shit and do all kinds of shit, and it's going to be a bloodbath, and that will happen. It's going to happen at some point. It'll have to happen. It's just the law of averages. You know what I'm saying? That's going to happen. But how men are going to be rebuilt, you're already seeing if you're paying attention to it. They're just waking up. They're talking. They're talking amongst one another. They're seeing how badly they're being abused and manipulated and used. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. It takes a good firm kick in the ass. It takes somebody telling you that they're going to remove your prized possessions from you on behalf of her. Know what I mean? Telling your kids, no, can't see dad this weekend. Sorry, guy. We've got a wedding to go to. Oh no, they're going to the water park. Oh no. We're gonna do extra homework this week, which actually I'm on board with, by the way. American students have far too much time off. But then again, being away from a Marxist indoctrination specialist, like a teacher, it's probably a good thing that they're not in school. So I'm kind of torn. But they'll tell you that. And every time they do that, every man that sees it and survives it, that doesn't decide to self-delete, you make a red pillar out of that man. He still may practice some blue pill shit. He still might chase the pussy. But he's always going to be aware. Always. We've even seen it here in this community. Cheers. We've even seen it here, locally, recently. Several men. I'm going to go date. I'm just going to change what I call myself. Or they're going to have somebody jump on them and force them to change. And it still doesn't change the outcome. It doesn't. It won't. It can't. It can't. You can't force people that have been given thousands of years of societal and civic development. It was just handed to them. What do you think is going to happen? What happens to all of the lottery winners that you see that never had money, that never had any money management experience? How many times, countless times, have you heard of these people going through millions or being suckered or being relieved of their cash? How many times have you heard that? I've heard it more times than I can count. It's not untrue. That's what happens when you give everything to people that are used to having nothing. You see? And I'm not suggesting that women never had anything. Women had their place. They had their role in life. And then along comes a little thing called feminism. But long before that, it was gynocracy. Men still ran the world. They ran everything. Today, you can't say that now. You can't. The white man has been made the boogeyman. The black man was the test model. You may agree with that. You may not. You just have to look around, see what time it is. It's easy. It's easy. Easy to see. Now you've got all of these black women coming out talking about how they deserve your respect. They deserve you. If you're a top shelf man, they deserve you. I gets down with them hood niggas. Their words, not mine. Although I have no problem with words. Every once in a while, I'll let it come out and somebody will jump up in the comments. Whoa, whoa, whoa. White man, who gave you permission? I don't need your permission. I don't need your permission. If you can hear it from them, if it can come out of your mouth, if Eazy-E, NWA, and Chubb Rock can sell it to me, I don't need your permission. Your women destroyed you, and you went along with it. But something interesting has happened. You know when you have that nice level, and you start stacking weight over here, and you stack some weight over here, you put a little too much here, it starts to tilt. A little too much here, starts to tilt back. Well, tons were dropped over here, and it launched this shit into orbit. That was men's fault. That was 100% man's fault. Not woman, but man. And now the sling back is coming. The pendulum swing is here. It's here. We point out countless times, myself, other content creators, we point out what's happening. Your mainstream media will pop and hit all around it. They just won't come out and say it. It won't be long. Rags like The Guardian, the Dr. Phil Show, Daytime Talk, CNN, they're onto it. But it's because they want to demonize it. They don't want to understand it. They just want to try to put you back in your role. You see, all of them got to liberate themselves, right? Liberation, expression. They got to do all of that, but you're expected to maintain your frame. Stay in your lane, Mr. Man. Stay in your lane, sir. Don't slut shame her, because then you're a bad person. Don't tell her that she can't have more than 4 dicks while you're married, because you're a bad person. What? You want to keep your baby? You're a bad person. There's only so much of this that any society can engage in before the society implodes and there is a vicious and savage backlash. Your diamond industries are losing trillions. The industries that prop up female validation are losing billions. Your birth rate is plummeting to a level that we've not ever seen. Your marriage rate is making new steps into the new cellar every single time the report comes out. They'll be jumping for fucking joy if it shows 0.5% growth, or if it flatlines and just bottoms out and doesn't lose anything. They'll be jumping for joy. It's how these people work. It's how they operate. Reconstruction, gentlemen, reconstruction. Reconstruction doesn't happen on a societal level. It happens here, individually. I take great comfort in knowing that there are millions of men out here that are building their lives, keeping unto them what is theirs. I take great pleasure in that. I take great pleasure in walking out, riding out, and seeing just as many homeless women on the street corner begging for change as I see men. It's exploded here in the last few days, weeks, months. It's exploded. Welcome to equal rights. You see, these Marxist cunts will tell you all day long, all we want's equality. Haven't you read the book definition of feminism? Don't you know anything, Neanderthal, you knuckle dragger? Yeah. We know enough to know that you mince words. We know enough to know that you're dishonest. We know enough to know that you only have one real legitimate option, and that is to fleece people. Because the women that are out there, and there are some, that are actually making their own money without defrauding men, without throwing false allegations of harassment, those women that have their house, that have their car, that have their life, they typically do not desire anybody else to be in their shit. So I'm not talking about them, but there aren't many of them. Not at all. And there are even fewer that stand up for what is good, honest, right, and just. They simply don't exist. You'll see some women jump out there and they'll run to an MRA site. Let us on. Let us on. Let us speak for you. We love men. Don't fall for it. As soon as you start to get your shit together, as soon as these fee-fails, these succubi out here understand what's going on, and they're starting to, they are going to come to get you. They won't care if you have a bald head. They won't care if you've got a fat belly. They will only care about being fed and taken care of. That's all. All of that plastic nonsense that they pursue, that bewitches them, that entitles them to your cash flow, your flow of spirit and energy, all of that shit will disappear as soon as the pressure gets put on. And believe me, the pressure is on right now. I told you a while ago, ladies, if any of you made it this far, be careful what you wish for. You may get it. Welcome to part 7 of the coming Juggernaut, House of Cards. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, gentlemen. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, back at you. one more time. Yo, man, I touched on the idea of the House of Cards in the last video, and indirectly touched on it all throughout this series. It's not difficult to see in my particular profession, where I work, what I do, how I do, that when corporations start to cut production going into what should be one of the busiest seasons we've had in recent times, last 5 or 6 years, that is a sign that something is happening. You know that old Buffalo Springfield song? There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. Well, I disagree with that part. It's clear. It's clear what's happening. You have what I like to call a multi-stage failure. We have a societal failure. We have a civics failure. We have a legislative failure. We have an executive failure. And it's cascading failures all through the human race. The one thing that's positive about it is that it's making some people, not all, but some people, wake up and think. I find that to be a fascinating part of living today, is listening to and understanding how other people think. And when they say something or they express an idea that is so completely off kilter that you can't believe that it came out of another human being's mouth, that shows you how isolated and compressed that we are, that we've been made to be. I'm not saying that every person in the world should go out and become an encyclopedia. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not. But you have it right there. You're looking at it. Every smartphone that you hold on to is a supercomputer. It's an encyclopedia. It's a dictionary. It's a history lesson. It's a button push away. And people are too lazy, too cowardly, too stupid, too set in their ways to even do that and do it properly. The House of Cards that gynocentrism and feminism are built on is crumbling. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's going to fall all the way to the ground. It's a 12-story mega card house, and they've lost about half of it. And they're losing more, and they're going to continue to lose. It simply can't be helped anymore. But while gynocentrism is seeking to remain in existence, feminism is on the ropes. And that's reflected sheerly in numbers. Now, you can't take those numbers at face value. There are a lot of women out here that understand how men think about the word feminism and about the principles of feminism and what's out here in the cultural zeitgeist. They understand that. So they don't call themselves feminists, but they practice feminism. Sort of like Democrats and Republicans. They call themselves Democrats and Republicans, but they don't do either one of those things. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to spot fakers, cultural freeloaders, parasites. It's easy to spot them if you know what to look for. All of these things out here, all things, on some level, are a house of cards. On some level. Except when you get right down to the nitty-gritty of what it takes for a man to be a man and a woman to be a woman. These things are not taught. They are your instinct. They are ingrained. What is taught to you, or what is foisted upon you, is medicine for your headache or your inability to deal with stress. Or if you feel a little funny today and you might think that you're a boy in a girl's body, or a girl in a boy's body. Now they're making it illegal for you to challenge that and for you to work your kids through what most people feel at some point in time, gender dysmorphia, gender dysphoria. There's a very simple explanation for these things. Where you don't have a cogent male and female dynamic in a family, you can't have decent, productive, balanced children. Now I know there will be someone that's going to look in on this and say, oh, wait a minute now. I had a family, and I had a mom, and I had a dad. Why didn't you say dad first? I mean, you had a father and a mother. See how that works? When you speak about your family, you speak about it in the correct order. You have a father and you have a mother. And if your father and your mother are emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually sound, you will be too. Unless there's just something fucking wrong with you and you're a bad egg. Or defective sperm. It's entirely possible. It happens. It happens, but it's rare. It's rare to see all of those factors come together, everything be correct and right, and the child to still turn out to be a shithead or defective. It's rare. You know, I was paying attention to the intranet last night after the stream, and every single commercial that came on YouTube, every single advertisement that I saw has a woman fronting it. And it's not all in my head, gents. That's what it is. So you don't see men behind the wheel of sports cars or muscle cars now. No. They sell them to women. You don't see commercials for men's shoes. No. You hardly ever see a commercial for anything that benefits a man for his work life, especially if it's a laborious work life, like work gloves or tools. Just don't see it anymore. It's very rare. Very rare. This is your house of cards inverting itself. This is taking the wreckage of your society, piling it up in a corner somewhere, setting fire to it, and calling it a brand new culture, a brand new society. Look at that over there. Isn't it beautiful? It lights the way for all to see. The house of cards that support feminism, male usury, male fuckery, men, is coming apart. There are going to be rough times, a rough road ahead. Now, if you happen to be politically inclined and you're saying to yourself, well, it'll all be okay if Trump wins. Well, it'll all be okay if Biden wins. No. I'm afraid not. It doesn't work that way, gang. It doesn't work that way now, and it's hardly ever worked that way. So it's very interesting to me that people have thoughts like this. Thoughts. It's very interesting to me that people still believe things like this. And you got to ask yourself, why? Why does anybody believe the absurd? They believe it because it's taught to them. It's marketed to them. It's sold to them. They put a nice, pretty little bow on it, and they tell them, this is what you want. We know this is what you want. They find the weakest sector of your society, and they start chipping away at them. They exploit them. It's not difficult. Not hard at all. Black men. Are your black women in church on Sundays and Wednesdays and Monday night? How much of your money are they giving to the pastor? How corrupt is that pastor? Why does that pastor's corruption exist? Who put the corruption in the black church to bring them to heel? It was a white liberal. It was a collection of white liberals, but in particular, it was also the founder of the biggest business in the world that black women patronize. And no, I'm not talking about the Korean weave store. I'm talking about Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger sat down with a whole bunch of white liberal elitist Jews and determined that the best way to control the black man was through his woman. And then they sat down with a collection of pastors, and they got pastors that would preach what they said, what they thought. Not a sin to have an abortion, not a sin to live in sin. Tried the same thing with the white community. It didn't go off so well, but feminism took off like a rocket ship. Feminism murdered the white community with the help of the female and the white liberal. You have to know what your enemy is, folks. You have to know why the House of Cards exists. It exists to control you. There is no other reason to get that money, to get your productivity, those productive years from 16 to 60. You know why the mandatory retirement age keeps going up? Most people before the 1930s would work up until the week that they dropped. Until they got sick and they couldn't get out of bed, they would work, they'd take care of their lives. They would provide for themselves. They weren't providing passage for a government. You see, they weren't doing any of that nonsense. Still trying to pay some taxes, some here, some there. But the mandatory retirement age keeps going up and up and up because people keep living longer and longer and longer. That's why it keeps going up. They're trying to defraud you of your decades of contribution, forced contribution. The house of cards that we have out here today, gentlemen, is in deep shit. It's in deep shit because all of the people around that are becoming aware of how many decks are being dealt against them have a book of matches and a can of fucking gasoline. And you're seeing it all over the place. You're seeing these spasms. When you see folks out there and they're Antifa-ing, you know what I'm saying? They're doing their thing, right? They're out there burning, looting, and murdering. There's a lot of that rests in confusion and distrust of the state. A lot of it, the majority of it, is also Marxism. But you have many, many, many folks out there that are completely disgusted, fed up, and confused. And it just seems like the right thing to do. Now, do I blame somebody for going out there, knocking buildings down, starting fires, depriving other peoples of their hard-earned? Fuck yes, I blame them. There are better ways to do things. The first one is to wake up and understand what's going on out here. Understand why you live in a rat maze. You do. If you haven't seen Mouse Utopia, I suggest that you see it. It'll open a few eyes if you have not. It's fascinating shit. But it's just what's happening out here. You can just see it. You can see it. But your house of cards, gentlemen, is falling down. Don't be unlucky enough to get caught underneath it. Brothers, there is no table. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, back at you one more time. You hear about these folks out here now, these trad cons, even some of these soft feminists, all of the simps, right? All of the femcells. You hear about all of them. About, come on, man, just talk to us. Just come back to the table. We can work it out. I'm sorry, folks, I'm sorry to tell you that there is no table. There is no table. There is no bargaining table. There is no bargaining chip. There is no bargaining platform. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. You see, everything in your life has become transactional. Everything. And men, I think by and large, even the normies, even the blue pillars, are moving away from the transactional status now. So it's interesting to me how when people start to pull away from a set of rules or guidelines that were established for them and not by them, how people now all of a sudden want to negotiate. I don't think that it's being properly understood. There's no negotiation. There's no negotiation. There is no middle ground when it comes to being used or not being used. You still see all of these whack-ass programs on television. I don't watch television. I catch the internet highlight packages and scour through them and look, listen, and observe. You see, it's easy to get caught up in feelings when you're looking at people that are demanding that you do a certain thing, say a certain thing, be a certain way. But I don't do that. I detach myself from those feelings and I observe them. I see what they're doing. And it's easy to do if you're not living in your fields, right? It's easy for me. It should become easy for you. The real think tank vibe, any of these dumb shits, The View, all of these female-centric, spasming, chasming, filthy, devoid of all intellect and awareness shows that are put on for the squirming masses of women out there that don't really understand what's going on. Where are all the good men at? Where did they go? They didn't go anywhere. They didn't leave. They're still here. It's just not the good man that you want. You just don't want him. There's hundreds of millions of them. The unfortunate part about that is that you're not looking at 100 million choices. You're looking at what you consider to be a top tier man. That's funny. A man is a man. Now, if that man has more possessions, more shiny, dangly shit for you to hang your hat on, yada, 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 then so be it. If that's what you consider to be good. Oh, he's got 2 cars, a garage, he makes 7 figures, he does all that. He's all in. How do you think he got that? Do you think for one moment out there, ladies, if there happens to be any one of you wildebeests listening to this, do you think for one moment that all of that shit just fell in his lap and he's just going to dispense it on out there? Do you think that? Do you believe that? Because that's not how it goes. In order for you to have all of that stuff, you have to be concentrating on it. You have to make a willful effort to make it, to buy it, and to keep it. And those top tier men, that you so frequently chase after and exclaim that you just got to have them. They're more interested in keeping their lives together than they are trying to give it to you. Now, you see a myriad of examples. Pick any sports ball, and you will find somebody in any division, no matter what it is, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, racing, they're all getting divorced. They're all leaving with big fucking chunks of the money that was made by the husband. Just because vagina. I don't think that is going to get any man to that fictional table. Now, the table was real at one point. The bargaining posture was real at one point. It's not now. It's gone. It's gone. As I said earlier, you have reduced everything in your life to a transactional status. No, you didn't do that? No. Tinder, Bumble, Grindr, Plenty O Fish, Matchmaker.com. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. And not only have you done that, you have doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down. You will continue this path until there is nothing left, because that is what your ideology demands of you. You'll do it. And it's okay that you do it, because I think that the really, really intelligent, smart men out here, the real top-tier men, aren't concentrating on you. They're not worried about you. They're not consumed with falling into a bucket o' pussy. You see, they just don't care about this. And I think that that's magnificent. And I see it everywhere now, everywhere. And the more feminist articles that come up, the more female articles that decree the evilness of men, the toxic masculinity being displayed by these treacherous males. Oh, look at him confidently puffing on his cigar. Oh, man, we got to bring that man down. You have handsed up, times out, Me Too'd your way into oblivion. Kill him! He's got corona. Oh, that's right. The 74-year-old president was over it in 3 days. Fuck you and your fake hoax pandemic. Like I said, COVID's real. The reaction to it's not. Nice water. Cheers, by the way. So, what have we learned? We've learned that there is no table. Why is there no table? Well, because we have no rights. You see? Now you're going to say to yourselves, oh, that's bullshit. You've got all the rights in the world. We're the ones with no rights. Okay, well, I can prove it to you. How can I make you have my baby? I can't. How can I stop you from killing the baby that I made? I can't. How can I not be drug into court for child support or alimony? I can't. The reverse cannot be said for anything that I just said pertaining to you. Can't. You can't. How can I avoid usury, heartbreak, despair? How can I avoid bringing children into the world just to have their mother flip the fuck out and try to take them from me? And 85% of the time she'll be successful. I just don't fuck with you. You see, if I'm out taking a nature hike, which I do, and I run across a bear, I'm not going to try to hug it. It's cute, it's cuddly, it's appealing, it's even attractive, the idea of hugging a bear. But I ain't going to do it. Why? Because I know what's going to happen. That bear is going to swipe off half my fucking ass. And if my kids are there, she's going to eat the fucking kids too. That's why I stay away from you. That's why most men now today are guarding themselves in ways that have never been seen in history. Ever been seen. To me, I couldn't be happier that men are starting to develop and gather awareness. What a wonderful time it is. What a wonderful time it is. But I'll say this one more again. If I was the only person in the world that was preaching this, and everyone, all 7 billion of you motherfuckers were saying, "Oh, you're wrong. Oh, what a hateful misogynist," it wouldn't change my mind. It would just make me more confident in the fact that I was the only sane person on planet Earth. And that's how that is. That's what it is. That's how it goes. There is no table. There is nothing to be talked about, nothing to be bargained with. There is nothing left. You have hollowed yourselves out. You have made yourself worthless. Your sexual market value is wasted and pissed away in your most valuable years. 16 to 25, ladies, 16 to 25 is when you are at your peak. That is your most valuable. Period. That's it. Everything after that, shooting fucking craps. And most of the time, it'll be snake eyes. Oh yeah. I would love, in a former life, well, hell, even this one, to say, you know what? Everything has changed. Look at how wonderful and beautiful and feminine these women are now. But it won't be that. It'll never be that. I'd love to say right now, man, I woke up today, found out that no-fault divorce had been stricken from the books. Found out that the rampant abuse of men through Title 4D has gone away. They struck it down. They recognized the injustice. But that's not going to happen. It's up to you, men, to take care of yourselves and safeguard yourselves, because no one else is going to do it. These traps have been laid before you so that you may step into them. And unfortunately, actual human beings are being used to snare you, much like human trafficking. Much like human trafficking. Say, Hammer, did you just compare marriage, the institution of marriage, to human trafficking? Well, they're both institutions, aren't they? They both rape, plunder, and pillage, don't they? So yeah, I did. And I'll stand by that. But let's go back a thought or two. Let's go back a thought or two and examine why, even if no-fault divorce, Title 4D, and all of these gendered laws that were put in, laws and statutes, by the way, that were put into place by feminist lawyers, liberal cuck fucking men, knowing exactly what was going to come of it. Let's just say that they're all gone right now. Does that mean that you can go dating? You could be free? Nope. Nope. Because you're dealing with the grandmothers, mothers, and children, and the children of the children right now. 4 fucking generations of females that believe that they're entitled to your shit because they walk out the door, because they do you fucking dirty. When I tell you, ladies, that there is no table, there is no fucking table. The table done got blowed up. It's gone. There ain't even splinters. Oh, yeah. Not even a splinter left, do you understand? Not one. They're gone. There is no way to repair this. There is no way to fix this. And the lost generations of men and women, They will suffer all the way to their graves because of this. Unless, of course, you start to get a decent, rational perspective on it. And that perspective would be, for men, go MGTOW. Get your shit straightened out. Get it together. Stop feeling like you're missing out on something, because you are not missing out. What you're doing is suffering from generations of propaganda and brainwashing, making you feel like you're not the only guy at the party. You know what I'm saying? That's what it makes you feel like. I've been down in them fucking trenches, pardon the pun. And while it can be very fun, it's only very fun for a little bit. As soon as she fucking sits up and you guys start talking shop again, you're back in the same old goddamn meat grinder. And it fucking sucks. And it's not fun. And you don't get to dedicate your life and your time, your minutes, hours, days, weeks, and months to you. You have to dedicate them to something else. If you want to keep that thing that was in your bed that was making you squish and squirm for 30 seconds. I say nay. I'm not taking that deal. I'll sit right on out here and do my thing with myself, by myself, and for myself. That, of course, includes my son. We're in the process of unwinding a lot of the unintentional programming that he has suffered. So that'll take a little bit. Just constant, steady, positive reinforcement. And then I have no doubt in my mind he'll come to the realization and the understanding that what he was being shown was incorrect. He'll know it. He already knows it. It's just hard to deal with it. But gentlemen, remember, when someone starts talking to you, or you hear that conversation, and they start talking about coming back to the table, negotiate with us. You give them that fucking side eye, and you tell them straight, ladies, there is no table. You blew it up. You deal with it. Gentlemen, welcome to part 9 of the coming Juggernaut, The Need to Crusade. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, gentlemen. Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk, back at you one more time. Yo, man. Yo. So I was sitting around last night and I was watching some of the great Thomas Sowell. And I feel that I would be remiss if I did not attribute this particular title to him. He was the inspiration for it. He was talking about liberals in particular, and how liberals constantly have to reinvent themselves and reinvent the boogeyman. And it's particularly prevalent with gynocracy and with feminism. That's undebatable. There's no debate to be had there. They have to, absolutely have to, have a boogeyman. They have to have the need to crusade. They constantly invent reasons. They constantly invent grievances. But they do understand in their heart of hearts that everything that they have been awarded, I use that word very carefully, everything that females have been awarded over the years and decades has come at the behest of men. You see, if men didn't really view you as an equal, somewhat of an equal, you wouldn't be in the discussion. If men didn't give you your rights, you wouldn't have any. If men didn't build civilization, you wouldn't have your creature comforts. You would have none of this. All I have to do is direct you, ladies, to Bear Grylls and his little edition of Survivor Island, Men versus Women. I don't think either of them did spectacularly well, but the men would have at least been able to feed themselves, cooperate, work with one another, and do what they had to do to survive to the next day to figure something else out. The women, on the other hand, if they were left to their own devices, the females wouldn't last 30 days. And I don't think that it would have been because they would have jumped out there and gotten snake bit or fallen ill or fallen victim to tragedies. I think it's because they would have killed one another. And I believe that. I think that they would have gone Lord of the Flies. The need to crusade is ingrained in females. Women go along to get along. As a matter of fact, so do most men. Women go along to get along because it's just the easy way to go. They have a hive mind. They've got that lizard brain clicking. Western women, especially women in Canada, the United States, England, Australia, certain other countries, are the most privileged class of human to ever exist. Do you think that they recognize that? No, they don't recognize it. All they do is talk about more. We want more. We want more rights. We want more this, more that, more the other. We want to work 30-hour work weeks and get paid for 40. We want men to be bumped up to 46 hours and get paid for 40. That's what we want. We want men to be circumcised. We want men to be castrated, chemically or otherwise. We want to know if that's a baby boy or a baby girl before we kill it. Is it any wonder to anyone why marriage rates are gone, why they're in the tank, why women adorn themselves in fake up, why they dangle little pieces of cheap Chinese-made shit off of their bodies, why white women are trying to look like black women and black women are trying to look like white women? Is it any wonder? The schizophrenia that is inherent to the female genome has never been more clear. Now, some will say, well, it's because they're being fucked with, they're being manipulated. You wouldn't be wrong. But that's not the entirety of it. It's not even a lot of it. The pure and simple fact of the matter is that women were evil, conniving, and treacherous long before they had established rights that put them on equal legal footing with men. Now you see exactly what they are. Exactly. female serial killers, female murderers, female rapists, except they don't call them rapists because you have to be able to have a hard-on, right? Yeah, they don't call them rapists. Crazy shit out there, isn't it? It's a crazy world. And it doesn't surprise me that the level of dysfunction is what it is, considering you have so many female governors, female sheriffs, female this, female that, female congresswomen, female senators, and there isn't one of those son of a bitches that don't mind telling every man within earshot, man up. Do what you're supposed to do. Well, why am I supposed to do that? Isn't that a gender role, madam? The need to crusade is built into these people, and it's easily stoked, it's easily whipped up, and it is easily implemented. Women are not looked upon as equals. They are looked upon as inferiors, especially by one another. And that's not hard to find. It's not hard to find at all. These people absolutely 100% do not trust one another. They do not have a vested interest in one another. They do not enjoy one another's company. In poll after poll, column after column, you can see how women hate and despise one another as far as working with one another, or working for a woman versus working for a man. And there are reasons for that, and they're not unreasonable. Not unreasonable at all. I find it strange that people are having this conversation today, given all of the evidence that they have, given all of the statistical data that they have, given all the hard physical cases that they have. When I say they, I mean the government, law enforcement, etc., etc. Just Joe and Jane Blow out here, just walking around looking at shit in daily, everyday casual conversations. The need to crusade is something that these people, women in particular, will never get rid of. Men, I'm pretty sure, can work around that. I think men can evolve the species to a point where things like this don't exist. But when you have women, females, that are inherently weaker than men, in every way, in every parameter, every metric, lording over them in positions of power, it's going to be dangerous. It's certainly not going to be reciprocated. I look at no woman and say, yeah, that's the bitch I'm going to follow into battle. None of them. Are they competent? Some of them. Had a very nice conversation the other night, sitting at the clinic while I was waiting to take my DOT drug test, because a female ran up the ass of my trailer. So, you know what I'm saying? Had a very nice conversation with her. She was intelligent, affable, very nice woman. But you could tell she was bleeding blue. Now, it wasn't puking blue. She was bleeding it, though. But still, she struck on all them chords. She's married, been married for 25 years. She's still a fairly attractive woman. 5 kids. That's exactly what I like to see, right? But she is sitting at a clinic. She's a clinician. She's a CNA. You know, she's gone above and beyond that now. Started out as CNA right out of college. Congratulations. Those are good things. She's made something of herself. But even she was quick to say that if she didn't have her husband, she don't know where she would be in that regard. And then you dive into the deep subject of accoutrements. You dive into the subject matter of entitlements. Oh, he's got it! Kill him! Oh! Set fire to him. Oh, they'd do that even if I didn't cough. But that's why you run into the situation regarding entitlements, right? They know one-on-one, of a single father and a single mother, the single father is going to get it done. Now, it's going to be hard for you both. But the single father is going to fucking knuckle down, and he's going to say, guess what? Fuck all this other shit. I'm going to get it done. And he's going to get it done. He's going to get it done. And he doesn't have to call on the power of the state to make that happen. He's just going to get it done. He's going to find a fucking way, and he's going to get it done. The likelihood of a single mother doing that without involving the state is slim and none. Slim and none. Now you know why they vote left a vast majority of the time. Now you know why millions of them will even vote for Biden. They'll vote for Harris. Do you know why they're going to vote for Biden? Because they know that Harris is going to take over. They know that. They don't give a fuck about Kamala Harris's qualifications. They don't give a fuck about the fact that she's been lying since the day she fucking stepped on the national stage. They don't care that she was producing slave labor when she was running up California's lead law enforcement agency. They don't give a fuck about none of that. They just care because vagina. Well, it's about time that we had a black woman. Oh, she's not black. She ain't black. And then you got all of these fucking conflators out there. Well, she's a POC. It's the same thing. Misogynist. Fuck you. These dirty fucking hair pies make me want to vomit. I can't stand them. I fucking hate them. I hate them. And it's because of bullshit like that I have very little or nothing to do with them on a permanent fucking basis. I can still talk to a man about anything, as long as that man knows how to talk and hold a conversation about anything. With a female, as soon as you bring these things up, well, but maybe the father should have been. Well, did the father rape you, madam? Well, no, he didn't rape me. Well, then you let him into your pussy, right? You are the gatekeepers of sex. You determine 100% of who gets into your pussy. So if you let a loser, if you let an ill-equipped man into your vagina, shut up. That's your decision, and you're not free from the consequences. Not in my book, you're not. You will be held to account. Plain and simple. Look at that angry man. Oh, he hates women. See, we can have it all. I'm going to wait till I'm 38 to get pregnant. I don't want no downies. The need to crusade for these people is stronger than the need to fuck men or go out and party. They have to get behind a cause. They have to get behind a movement. They have to crusade. And they don't care if the crusade is right or just. They don't think about the consequences of life or death. You give them far too much credit to assume that they even understand the repercussions of killing a child. If there's anything that has shown any man out there that isn't complicit in it, why you should stay the fuck away from them, that would be the number one red flag. Blood red flag. These 4 generations of females that have been grown, bred, and indoctrinated into the idea of killing human life because they wanted to stand up on a stage and get their little Screen Actors Award. You killed a person, Michelle Williams I'm talking about. You ought to look up her little speech. The choice of a woman. If I had not had the ability to choose, I wouldn't be standing here today holding my tribute to Gollum, to Moloch. Oh yeah, she said it. She traded in a human life to get a piece of plastic and steel. That's all you need to know. That's the crusade in a nutshell for a female. The acquisition of more.
You're watching Hammerhand, the MGTOW monk.
Good men, I am humbled to be able to record for you tonight the final section of the coming of the Juggernaut. Revenge is a dish that is best served cold. It is a widely used phrase expressing the sentiment that revenge that is delayed and executed well after the heat of anger has dissipated is more satisfying than revenge taken as an immediate act of rage. This, of course, is true. My good friends, the best form of revenge is to live well in the face of atrocity. The best forms of revenge are to turn their shackles and their cages back upon them, and to allow them to experience what you have experienced for 60 years, your fathers and their fathers. The reckoning for this pathetic race of people is at hand. These buffoons with clown paint all over their faces, with false rubber parts inserted into their bodies, to somehow make an appeal to you and your sexuality. Men that have their biology in hand cannot be defeated. Men that think, that understand, that are little more than shaved apes, can escape this. This speaks to the barest of sentiment when it comes to discovering how far men have fallen, how much they have abdicated in this quivering, useless response to self-gratification. Revenge is in fact what they are committing on you. Revenge for not being you, for not being able to dictate term and policy, for not being big enough, or strong enough, or gentle enough, for not having enough feeling, for not being the best writers, the best cooks, the best engineers. You are the best in the world at everything that you do. Every discipline is dominated by you, and this cannot be. In the simplest terms possible, you have won. You have won by not playing the game. You have won by not acquiescing or capitulating. You have won by gaining control of your biology, of your wants and desires. You have won by making the distinction, by prioritizing needs over wants. You have won because there is no way to force you to giving to them. Gentlemen, the coming Juggernaut is here. The new Colossus is upon us. And it will be terrifying. For them. You already know what to expect. You have been paying the price for them. No longer. This is not something that we are prepared to tolerate anymore. And all you have to do is simply protect yourself. Protect who you are. No person in the world can take this from you. even at the pain of death. There is a new age of men upon us. Men are awakening. They are becoming aware. They are beginning to understand, not by ones and twos and tens, but by thousands and hundreds of thousands. This is the only way to explain why you have no marriages, why you have zero growth, why children aren't being born. This is not a result of empowerment of females. This is a result of men who have decided to do something different. Women have been relieved or elevated beyond their matriarchal responsibilities in life. They no longer have to have children. They no longer need to stick to a role. They no longer sit at the house. Nor should they. They should grow and evolve. You should grow and evolve. They have set you free, men. My friends, you are free now. Growing will be the hardest thing that you've ever done. Understanding that this visage, this vision, this construct was not everything that you were told that it would be or should be or could be. Making the decision to step out of this life and become uncomfortable for your own well-being is the strongest thing that you can do. Building character, building your life, understanding what you are outside of a construct. These things will never be easy. It will be as if you're being born for a second time. Trust me, my friends. We've all been born a second time. I want to thank Hammerhand for the opportunity to record this last segment in what has become a stunning series. I also want to say that I appreciate having the creativity, the creative freedom to do it the way that I wanted to do it. That is something that he has never stymied. He encourages it in all of you. And you should encourage it in yourselves. It is only a benefit, never a curse. You men do not realize the power that you possess. You are minor miracles, engines of economy, of industry, of self-reliance. Of course, these things cannot be accomplished if you continue to abdicate your position at the head of the table. I realize that we have the saying that there is no table, when in fact there is. You have disinvited yourselves from it. And in my humble opinion, you should continue to do so. A system that was built and designed by you and your forefathers no longer benefits you or your sons. Disengage from this madness. Do not take the bait that they offer, and do not go quietly.